Vasu sir, I would like your opening remarks. You are into construction, real estate, where a lot of manpower is needed, and they come from different parts of the country. So how are you looking at this unprecedented situation?
Yeah, this industry has been hit very badly last, I would say, a decade or so, because of various measures coming in, like demonetization, GST introduction, RERA coming in, and stuff like that. The challenges have been continuously coming. And now this big challenge of COVID has really put a stop almost. Why almost? It's put a stop across the country. And very rarely that we see, that across the country that we don't get a chance to work. We have been careful in choosing the mixes, like what Ajay said. We had a mix of various contracts, but still, when work is not allowed anywhere, it's a big drain on the whole system. In the real estate industry, of course, things have changed. Previously, it was purely a seller's market where the developers need not worry about what they build and how they sell. Things changed subsequently into where design importance were given, quality importance was given, transparencies was required, and the industry coped up with all these, and then really things were improving on those fronts. But the issue of the present issue, which is affecting the work, is very, very severe for us, because we are landed up with about, across our sites, we have about 2,500 laborers, which we have got in our site without work. So we need to take care of them. We need to take care of their hygiene. We need to take care of their work, food. We need to take care of, their safety. And all this is putting a drain. See, whatever measures which government so far has announced, they have not been really in line with what is required for construction industry or for the real estate industry. Going forward, we still hope that there are a couple of more packages likely to be announced, where it's good to hear that loans are made easy, loans are given, but ultimately you need to service those loans, right?
Right.
Then how do you going to service those loans if your bottom lines are not going to be anywhere near what you had anticipated? Because the contracts awarded were at a previous time. You need to execute under the present conditions where working rules have changed. So it's going to be a tough time in the short term, I feel. But I think this is a situation where we see from the positive side, if you see, this is across for everyone. It's not something only we are affected with. So naturally there would be sitting across, negotiating and redoing the contracts. All this will happen, but it's going to be a painful, time consuming process. So in short term, I see a lot of challenges, but in long term, I think real estate or housing or construction will always be needed, and the good thing which has happened in all these changes is qualities become important, design parameters become important. So you need to be very proactive. You need to be very, very aware of what is the likely way the design is going to go, and be prepared. See, we have a lead time. When we design today, the product comes out after 2 years. It is not as if we can design for next month or 2 months now. So that's one big challenge, and we don't know what's after 2 years, whether people are going to forget COVID and then also start moving around the same way as what they were doing, or it's still going to be an effect which will linger around in their mind and people will change.
Sure.
Way I feel is people will change. The effect which we have had on the impact for the last 2 months will make people think there will be a lot of changes happening, the way the houses are built, the way the sizes are built, and the way the entertainment areas are. You don't know today, is there any stadium viable? These are questions which will only be answered down the line. But to end, I would say, see, the best vaccine made so far is by a builder, a home. There is no other vaccine made so far. So if you look at it positively, yes, we have a huge scope. We need to see through the pain, and going forward, we see things improving.
No, absolutely, Vasu. I think that's so beautifully put that it's the homes where everybody is saying safe because of companies and builders like you. Yeah, very beautiful answer. So I think now straight, if I hit what do I say, the most important thing that is bothering all MSMEs and entrepreneurs is cash. It's working capital. So let me paint the scenario. You're suddenly having that many of the top blue chip customers who are listed, whose rating is very good, suddenly declaring that instead of paying in say 15, 20 days, it'll be 30 days, 60 days. We have letters, say for example, from Asian Paints or from Tata Motors, which was made public. And most of the MSMEs just can't take that hit. The second is on the vendors side. Many of the places to small vendors, companies made payments, and now they just can't supply. I mean, they just have taken that cash and they have kind of moved out. The third is, on the costs, the salary, employees, etc. Though it's a controversial subject, it's a tough subject, but then that is a part of a cost. And because of the circulars coming from Labour Commissioner, many of us are in confusion that, what do we do? Can we defer? Can we not defer? Can we lay off? Can we not lay off? Etc. So what I want to quickly ask all of you is, in this unprecedented situation where revenues are almost close to zero, right? And no cash inflow is coming in, you can reduce your cost to maybe cut down by 50%, 60%, whatever the number is, but still you do have a burn. How do you manage cash and working capital in this situation? So, I mean, maybe I'll start with Vasu, sir, because construction needs a lot of cash and working capital. And then
Rahul, your question is very pertinent. In the last 2 months, we haven't seen any cash inflows at all, but we need to keep the things going.
Yeah,
it was tough even before, so it's become tougher now.
Yeah.
And in these tougher times, talking of no retrenchment, no wage cuts is all theoretical. You need to survive, and there needs to be cash to distribute. So it's a tough call, but you need to take these tough calls during these periods. And the only way forward for us is to take these calls and move on. But we need to take it very, very considering the people who have worked with you for a long period of time, and you are to support them. We understand that, and we by far have found our people are also very understanding, and the staff who have worked are also understanding the situation. Everybody is pulling their strings, tightening their belts, and then moving forward in these days. So it is a tough question.
Yeah.
The bank limits from the government side, yes, there has been one positive side from there where they have sanctioned us 15% over our working capital requirement. But then, we need to be careful here because this has a hardly any moratorium period. And then if we don't see things picking up and if we don't see cash coming in, how are we going to even service it? Forget returning it. But that is the second part. How are we going to service it? So these are challenges which is across, which right now there is no answer unless things really open up and we have made contingency plans of how we're going to function if we are going to do it at 30% of our planned output which we had originally planned, or at 50%, and we have no answers. At today, if you ask me, we have really no answers. We are groping, like I think almost most of the people in our industry and similar industries. So things will only be clearer as things go forward. So you need to be careful in your spending. You need to be, conserving everything as much as possible. At the same time, you need to keep alive the basic needs of.
Okay. Vasu sir, I'll move to you with my next question. That is, especially with respect to this huge migration of labor force, that's happening in India, and all the construction companies, whether it's in the real estate, whether it's in buildings, airports, bridges, or even companies like us who do rooftop solar. What we are seeing is that most of the construction activity primarily happens in the developed districts or the developed states. And now you don't have labor in those places, and interstate travel is very difficult. So this migration, do you see is like a temporary phenomena? People will come back, or do you see this as a larger permanent phenomena where now you need to develop local teams, which I'm guessing is going to be much more expensive than what it used to be, say, a quarter ago? So how do you think this whole labor migration and the labor crisis is going to impact construction and real estate sector, and also manufacturing. Yeah.
Rahul, this labor migration issue is been there right from beginning. The way we have been executing our job is we usually have labor stationed at site, which would constitute about 60, 70, 80% of the requirement. And we would have about 20, 30% of the labor from the local. That's the way which we used to work so far in locations across the country. And I don't see any change in that happening. As I said, there is short term and long term. In short term, it is going to be a problem. People who have been staying at site would logically want to go home immediately. But practically, with the quarantine period, going home 15 days quarantine, coming back 15 days quarantine period, how practical it is all going to be a challenge. So in short term, there will be pains, there will be migration of labor going. In fact, the people who have already gone, 50% of labor left before the lockdown really happened, because everybody sensed, what we are heading for. So those people are likely to come back. So the mix is going to keep happening. But there is no way that we can run away from the issue that labor requirement at site and movement is a key issue, and this needs to be addressed. And I think these are the challenges for which, again, as Hemant and other people said, we don't know whether it will happen in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Now, after 2 months, Hemant has got it stuck still on the highway. Luckily, maybe his product is not an expiry product. Otherwise, what would be the end result? And also, manufacturing products alone, manufacturing alone is not really going to help, because the consumption has to happen. For the consumption to happen, we need to build, we need to, the rotation needs to happen. So over a period of time, it will stabilize, is the feeling which we get. But in the short term, yes, it is going to be difficult. And on your question of, I agree with what Ajay said. It's a boon, in fact, that this has taught us ways of communicating without being physically present. And we also find, our travel will be drastically reduced. But the point which you said, skilled manpower to go and commission a plant, skilled manpower to, do certain particular skill jobs will have to travel, and that challenge will have to be addressed.
Fine. Yeah, Vasu. I think so. We're looking at a behavioral change with respect to how B2B sales is done. And then, yes, there are core places where people have to go, and that has to be managed in a safe way. Thank you.
One more point which I just want to make is, this is again, as I said, in the long term, we are still in a mode where we are, in the country across, we are doing construction at site.
Yeah.
I've always been canvassing this. It has to be erection at site, not construction at site.
Yeah.
I think over a period of time, these are design changes which will force us to go to that model, which is a good model according to me.
Sure. Thank you. I'll take the next question, which is for Vasu, sir. It's from a pretty interesting one, I must say. It's from Mr. Ganesh Natarajan. So Ganesh asks you, Vasu, that with this whole big move of services company, keeping employees to work from home, first, how will commercial real estate, cope up with it? How commercial real estate is going to be? And the second is that with people now working from home, so one is, how it's going to be between the two spouses who are not used to seeing each other so many times with kids around. How will residential real estate go through a transformation with respect to requirement, design, etc.? Yeah, Vasu.
Yeah, Ganesh, this is a very interesting question, in the sense which we have been debating over the last month or so, ever since TCS announced that they're very serious about their move about shifting most of the people from working from home. And the debate has been going on and off of both the pros and the cons of things. But in my opinion, I feel, yes, there is likely to be a change. There is likely that people will start moving, but to work from home. But at the same time, the office requirement may reduce, but it cannot be eliminated. But people will start moving. Their houses requirement will increase. the way they are doing entertainment, that will change. See the multiplexes and the malls which are there people may not venture out. We don't know how sports is going to pan out, whether we're going to have IPL, whether we're not going to IPL. All these questions we have no answer. But on the housing front, yes, I can definitely tell you, in the last 60 odd days, people have been in their home. They would have realized their shortcomings or whatever they had, of their house, and they would definitely feel if they have to continue living like this, they need to provide for housing which is of a different design, different sizes. So there is likely to be a change in the housing requirement. The locations will change. People will move from congested location to locations which are more open, where the congestion is not happening. So these are types of changes which are definitely going to happen. The entertainment areas which are definitely going to change. Office buildings, I don't see any change except office buildings where vacancies are going to be created in office buildings. Then these buildings will require redevelopment, because most of the office buildings are grade 1. So retrofitting them or converting to residential would be some of the ideas one need to ponder at, sit in the drawing board and work out options. But yes, office premises utilization is going to reduce, but not immediately and not drastically, is what I feel.
Sure. So Vasu, for your new projects, are you contemplating doing away with the master bedroom and having a separate bedroom for him and a separate one for her, maybe with a small interconnecting door?
I think this is a social issue. Whether there are more divorces now or not, these are questions which are being asked. But definitely what we are doing is we are providing master bedroom or with a study, inbuilt study or a separate study, provided where two people can work in from a study. So these are things which we have already started working on the drawing board on the new projects. But unfortunately, I don't know when I'm going to launch a new